It was supposed to be a celebration. 3 years together. 3 years of loyalty. He told me the anniversary night would be unforgettable. I thought it meant a proposal. A ring. A future. Instead, it became the stage for my humiliation. The party hall was full, his colleagues, his boss, even his friends from college. Everyone dressed sharp, glasses clinking, cameras flashing. He had planned this carefully, and I had no idea I was the entertainment. He tapped his glass. The room silenced. He smiled, confident, proud. 3 years, he announced. 3 years with her. And tonight, I want to finally say what's been on my mind. My heart raced. I stood tall, thinking this was my moment. But then his words shattered me. I cannot marry her, he said, voice calm, almost cheerful. She's only a clerk. A junior accountant with no real ambition. And I deserve more. The crowd gasped, then chuckled. His boss smirked, his friends laughed, and I stood frozen, my smile collapsing into shock. You're ending our engagement, here? My voice was low, trembling. He tilted his glass toward me. Don't take it personally. You're a nice girl, but let's be honest, you'll never rise beyond pushing numbers at a desk. You're not wife material for someone like me. The laughter grew louder. Colleagues nodded. One even whispered, good call, man. I felt my face burn. Every eye in the room measured me, judged me, pitied me. He wasn't done. Look at us, he continued, pacing like he was giving a speech. I'm climbing the corporate ladder, traveling, shaking hands with CEOs. And she? She sits buried in ledgers. I can't drag dead weight into my future. Applause followed. Some clapped like he had just given the toast of the year. My chest felt crushed, but I refused to break in front of them. I placed my glass on the table. My voice came steady, sharper than I expected. Thank you. You've shown me exactly who you are. I walked out. Not a single tear, not a single word more. Just silence. Behind me, I heard laughter, whispers, even cheers. For them, it was a joke. For him, it was victory. For me, it was the beginning. That night, I sat alone, staring at my reflection. No tears. Just fire. His words echoed, you'll never survive in my world. I opened my laptop, not to scroll, not to beg for advice, but to plan. Job postings, certifications, professional courses, I saw them as weapons. Every rejection, every dismissal, every sneer would fuel me. Revenge wasn't my obsession. Survival was. But survival became transformation. And transformation became the sweetest revenge. I whispered into the dark. Survive? I'll do more than that. I'll rise. That was the night the clerk he mocked died. And the woman who would one day own the boardroom was born. The morning after the anniversary party, I wasn't broken. I was burning. I remembered his smirk, his boss's chuckle, the way people clapped like my humiliation was entertainment. That scene didn't kill me, it carved me. I quit the job where I was just a clerk. Not out of shame, but out of strategy. If I stayed, I'd remain exactly what he said I was. So I left with nothing but savings, determination, and the promise I made myself, I'll rise where he'll least expect it. I spent nights studying certifications, investing every penny in courses, skipping comfort for knowledge. While he was busy taking vacations with his circle, I was grinding through financial models, auditing techniques, mergers and acquisitions case studies. I turned my small apartment into a war room, books, notes, mock presentations. The first big break came 2 years later. A multinational firm needed an analyst. Competition was brutal. I walked in with no elite surname, no luxury degree, just confidence and relentless preparation. The director asked, "Why should we hire you?" I smiled. "Because you'll forget every other candidate the moment I show you results." I got the job. That job changed everything. I wasn't the girl hidden behind ledgers anymore. I was in boardrooms, pitching strategies, presenting to executives, learning how power truly moved. Every late night I worked wasn't for survival anymore, it was for empire building. And then, fate twisted the knife perfectly. At a financial summit, 3 years after the anniversary humiliation, I saw him again. Same tailored suit, same arrogance, but this time, he wasn't holding the spotlight. He was clinging to it. His company had been struggling, whispers of layoffs circling. He spotted me at the networking lounge. For a moment, his confident stride returned. Well. Still behind the desk, he smirked. I didn't answer. My assistant, standing beside me, did. She's preparing her keynote. She'll be addressing the executives in 30 minutes. His smirk collapsed. When I walked onto that stage and saw him in the audience, his eyes wide, his jaw tense, I didn't look at him directly. I didn't need to. My slides, my voice, my command of the room were louder than any insult he'd ever thrown. That was the night I realized, I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was living it. Every success I gained, every room I dominated, every silence I left him in, it was all revenge without a word. And destiny wasn't finished. Because 2 years later, I received an email that nearly made me laugh out loud. His resume. Sent to my office. Applying for a mid-level role in the company where I was now an executive. The man who once announced to the world that I was beneath him, now asking me for a chance. I didn't reply immediately. I let his name sit in my inbox like a trophy. When the interview day came, the moment he walked into my office, I felt the years collapsing into seconds. The laughter. The clinking glasses. The humiliation at that anniversary party. Every insult he spoke over me, just a clerk, dead weight, not wife material. They all sat quietly at the edge of my desk, waiting to watch this scene unfold. He stood at the doorway, trying to look confident. His tie was too tight, his smile strained. The arrogance he once wore like a crown was replaced by nervous charm. He was here as an applicant, not a victor. "Good morning," he said, his voice a little too cheerful. I didn't move from my chair. I didn't stand to greet him. I didn't offer a handshake. I simply nodded toward the chair opposite me. "Sit." He hesitated for a fraction of a second before obeying. That single pause told me everything. He already knew the balance of power had shifted. I glanced at his resume, though I didn't need to. I had memorized it. Mid-level finance role. Salary half of what he once bragged about earning. A history of job hopping, failed projects, and companies that didn't keep him long. "Why do you want this position?" I asked flatly, my tone stripped of warmth. He cleared his throat. "I believe my experience makes me a strong fit. I've worked with several firms, and I bring versatility." I flipped the page. "Versatility," I repeated. "Or instability?" His jaw twitched. Those were strategic moves. I leaned back, eyes fixed on him. Strategic? Or desperate? He blinked rapidly, forcing a smile. "I see you haven't changed." Still sharp. I tilted my head. "Oh, I've changed. Completely." Silence stretched between us. He shifted in his chair, the way people do when they're trapped. I continued. "Tell me, do you remember a night, some years ago? An anniversary party?" His face paled. He tried to laugh it off. That was a long time ago. We were young. People say stupid things. No, I corrected, my voice cutting. You said stupid things. You stood in front of your colleagues, your boss, your friends, and you announced that I was nothing. That I had no future. That I was dead weight. He swallowed. I didn't mean. You did. My tone was calm, almost clinical. You meant every word. You wanted to humiliate me. You wanted applause for breaking me. And you got it. His eyes dropped to the desk. He had no rebuttal. I let the silence choke him for a moment before continuing. You see, that night you thought you ended me. But you ignited me. Every certification I earned, every promotion I fought for, every late night I worked, it was built on the ashes of your arrogance. I leaned forward, locking my eyes on his. And now, here you are. Sitting across from me. Asking me for a job. His lips trembled. I never thought it would be like this. Neither did I admitted. I imagined revenge differently. I thought I'd shout, humiliate you the way you did me. But now I see, silence is louder. Authority is sharper. And nothing is more satisfying than watching you reduced to this. He shifted again, desperate. Please. I need this chance. Things haven't gone well. The economy, the market. I've had setbacks. You understand, right? You've been there too. I almost laughed. Don't compare your collapse to my climb. The difference is, I was underestimated. You were overestimated. He flinched. The words landed harder than a slap. I let his resume fall onto the desk with a soft thud. You're not qualified for this role. Not because of your skills, but because of your character. This company isn't desperate. We don't need arrogance disguised as experience. We need discipline, loyalty, humility. Things you lack. He leaned forward suddenly, panic flashing in his eyes. Please. Give me a chance. I can prove myself. I stared at him, remembering the way he once stared down at me in that party hall. The smirk, the champagne glass, the applause behind him. Now the roles were reversed. The same man was begging, and the same woman he mocked held his fate in her hands. I let the silence stretch again before speaking. Do you remember the last words you said to me that night? He looked confused, struggling to recall. You said, you'll never survive in my world. His eyes widened. Well, I said softly, leaning back in my chair, welcome to my world. I stood, closing his file. This interview is over. He froze, mouth open, searching for words. Wait, please, don't do this. I need this job. I walked to the door, holding it open. And I needed respect. You didn't give it. Life has a way of balancing debts. He stood slowly, defeated. His eyes searched mine, desperate for mercy. I gave him none. As he stepped past me toward the exit, I added one final line, cold and sharp. Next time you laugh at a clerk, remember, clerks become executives. And arrogant men become applicants. He stopped, but he didn't look back. He couldn't. His pride wouldn't let him. When the door closed behind him, I didn't smile, I didn't gloat, I didn't celebrate. I simply sat back down at my desk and whispered. Survival was my revenge. Success was my answer. And in that silence, the humiliation of years ago was finally erased. I walked into the boardroom with the calm authority I had earned. My nameplate sat at the head of the polished mahogany table, Chief Financial Officer, Emily Carter. Years of silence, discipline, and precision had brought me here. Today was not just another quarterly review. Today, the firm was considering an acquisition, one where my ex-fiancé's company was the desperate seller. The doors opened. He walked in. He was paler, thinner than before, dressed in a suit that pretended to hide the cracks in his confidence. For a second, he didn't see me. His eyes darted nervously to the investors, to the legal counsel, to the executive chairs. Then he looked at the head seat, at me. His jaw clenched. "Emily," he whispered, too low for the room to hear. I didn't answer. I tapped my pen against the binder marked Acquisition Review, Sterling and Company. His company. His lifeline. The meeting began. "Sterling and Company has requested an urgent cash infusion," the chairman said. "We'll hear their case. Ms. Carter will lead the financial review." I rose. My heels clicked against the floor, each step measured, steady. I pulled up the slides. His company's numbers bled across the screen: losses, debts, unpaid liabilities. "Sterling and Company," I began, my voice sharp and professional, "is on the brink of collapse. Their management practices are reckless. Their assets are dwindling. Their debt obligations exceed their projected revenues by 48%. I turned slightly, letting my eyes rest on him. "And their leadership," I added, "has demonstrated consistent failure in both strategy and execution." The boardroom was silent. All eyes flicked from me to him. He shifted in his chair, tugging at his tie. One of the directors asked, "Mr. Sterling, do you have anything to add to this assessment?" He cleared his throat. "With all due respect, Emily, Ms. Carter, is exaggerating. Yes, the company has faced headwinds, but..." "Headwinds?" I cut in. "You misreported profits last quarter to cover unpaid debts. Your expansion into the European market cost $5 million in unsalvageable losses. And your employee turnover rate is 62%. Those aren't headwinds. That's negligence." Gasps around the table. He flushed crimson. He tried again, voice breaking. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Making me look small." I straightened, keeping my tone icy. "This is a financial review, not a therapy session. Stick to the numbers." The chairman coughed, hiding a smirk. The legal counsel whispered to his assistant. The room was tilting against him, and he knew it. He tried once more. "Emily, please." That's when I cut him with the words I had waited years to say. "Mr. Sterling, let me remind you. You're not addressing Emily, the clerk you left behind. You're addressing Chief Financial Officer Carter. And as CFO, I am telling this board your company is a liability." The silence was deafening. For a moment, he looked like he might collapse. He gripped the edge of the table as though it was the only thing keeping him upright. His face betrayed the recognition: he was no longer the man with power. I was. The chairman turned to me. "Ms. Carter, your recommendation?" I let the pause hang. Every second was a blade. Finally, I said, "Reject the acquisition. Let Sterling and Company dissolve. The market doesn't need another sinking ship." The board agreed unanimously. A single gavel strike ended the meeting, and his company. He stayed seated, staring at me in disbelief as everyone else left the room. His empire had collapsed in the space of 40 minutes, signed and sealed by the woman he once humiliated. When the doors finally shut, it was just us. He whispered, almost hoarse. "Why are you doing this to me?" I leaned closer, my voice sharp enough to draw blood. "You humiliated me on the night of our anniversary because I was just a clerk. You ended us in front of everyone, left me standing alone with a suitcase. Remember that?" He swallowed hard. I didn't smile. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge in the tabloids. I chose something better. I built myself into the one person you would have to beg for help. And now you've begged, and I said no. His lips trembled, searching for words that didn't exist. I gathered my files, straightened my jacket, and walked to the door. Just before leaving, I turned back once. This was the boardroom. Next time, it'll be public. You wanted an audience for my downfall. You'll get an audience for yours. And then I left him there, broken in the chair where once, years ago, he believed he had left me broken. This was only the first strike. The boardroom was clinical, clean, professional. The final humiliation still awaited, a public gala, with lights, cameras, and the same spectacle he once craved. And I would be ready. The ballroom shimmered with golden light, chandeliers casting a glow over the gathering of industry leaders, executives, and investors. It was the annual corporate gala, the kind of event that people planned months in advance for, the kind of night where reputations were cemented and alliances sealed. Tonight was my night. I wasn't the timid junior accountant anymore. I wasn't the girl who had been abandoned at her own anniversary party. I wasn't the woman mocked as just a clerk. I was the youngest executive director in the company's history, the woman the board now relied on to negotiate billion-dollar acquisitions, the strategist whose vision had doubled revenue in 2 years. And tonight, I was delivering the keynote speech. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 years ago, I had been humiliated in front of friends and strangers alike when my ex-fiancé ended our engagement at a party just like this, sneering that he couldn't build a future with a clerk. Tonight, the stage belonged to me. The first glimpse of him. As I entered, photographers' flashes caught my dress, a sleek, midnight blue gown paired with understated diamond earrings. But even as I smiled politely for the cameras, my eyes swept the room, searching. And then I saw him. Ethan. He wasn't in the center anymore. He wasn't surrounded by admirers, basking in attention like the man I once knew. Instead, he hovered near the back of the room, his suit a little too worn, his expression restless. Life hadn't been kind to him since he left me. His reckless business ventures had collapsed, his arrogance had alienated allies, and whispers about debt and desperation now followed him wherever he went. And tonight, he had come here. I knew why. He wanted back in. He wanted to network, to plead for another chance at relevance. And, more importantly, he had no idea I would be the one holding the microphone tonight. The keynote. The host's voice boomed across the ballroom. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our keynote speaker, the remarkable executive director, Amelia Hart. Applause thundered as I walked to the podium. Every spotlight turned my way. My heels clicked against the marble floor, each step steady, confident. I caught Ethan's eyes for just a fraction of a second. His face froze, as though the ground beneath him had shifted. He hadn't expected this. I began. Good evening. When I first entered this industry, I was told I was too small to matter. That my work, my title, my role, was insignificant. I was told I could never lead, never rise, never belong at tables like this one. The audience leaned in. They loved a story of triumph, of underdogs who broke ceilings. I let the silence hang for a beat, then smiled. But the funny thing about underestimating people is this: while you're busy dismissing them, they're busy preparing to surpass you. The room erupted in applause. I saw heads nodding, people clapping with genuine admiration. And I saw Ethan. His jaw tightened, his fists curled. He knew exactly who I was talking about. The moment of confrontation. After the speech, guests swarmed me, congratulating, praising, exchanging cards. I played the role with grace, shaking hands, posing for photos, answering questions. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan weaving through the crowd, pushing past servers, making his way toward me. Finally, he stood in front of me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The noise of the gala swirled around us, but the silence between us was sharp, suffocating. "You," he said finally, his voice low. "You're the executive director?" I tilted my head, feigning polite surprise. "Oh. Ethan. I didn't see you there." His face flushed. "Amelia, listen." I raised a glass of champagne to my lips. "Strange. Last time we spoke, you told me I'd never make it. That no one would want to build a future with a clerk." A flicker of shame crossed his face. "I was wrong. I was stupid. But things were different then. You know I." "No," I cut him off, my voice calm but cold. "Things weren't different. You were different. I was already capable. I was already loyal. I was already working harder than anyone else in the room. You just couldn't see it because you were too busy looking down on me." He swallowed, glancing around. People nearby were listening now, curious. His arrogance couldn't save him here. "I need your help," he said finally, his tone cracking with desperation. "Amelia, please. My firm, it's sinking. I know I don't deserve it, but if you could just put in a word, get me a meeting." I let him talk. I let him spill every ounce of desperation he had been holding in. The man who had left me broken at an anniversary party now begged me like a drowning man clawing for air. And when he was done, I smiled. "Funny. At our anniversary, you told me I wasn't worth building a future with. But tonight," I leaned in, my voice sharp as glass, "you're asking me to save yours." His face crumpled. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The public ending. The organizers called me back on stage for a closing toast. Ethan stood frozen, pale, sweat beading on his forehead. As I raised my glass, I decided this was the moment. 3 years ago, I began, a man I loved told me I was just a clerk. Tonight, I stand before you as an executive director, proof that no role is just anything when it's done with dedication and integrity. The crowd applauded, but I wasn't finished. And as fate would have it, I let my eyes sweep the room, finally landing on Ethan, who stood cornered, exposed. That same man is here tonight. Only now, he stands not as a leader, but as a lesson. A reminder to never underestimate the person standing quietly beside you, because one day, they might be the one holding the power to decide your future. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Heads turned. People whispered. Ethan's face went scarlet. I raised my glass high. To underestimated beginnings, and unforgettable endings. The room roared with approval. Ethan stumbled out of the ballroom moments later, shoulders hunched, his legacy in tatters. The aftermath. I didn't follow him. I didn't need to. My revenge was complete, not with screams, not with bitterness, but with silence and proof. Proof that I had built the life he once said I never could. In the weeks that followed, whispers of that night spread across the industry. My name carried weight. His became a cautionary tale. For the first time in years, I slept without the weight of his voice echoing in my head. He had left me at my lowest point, in front of everyone. And I had returned at my highest, also in front of everyone. That was the justice. That was the closure. And as I closed my eyes that night, champagne still on my lips, I smiled. The girl he had abandoned was gone. The woman who replaced her had won. Forever. Backhand index pointing right. If you enjoyed this powerful story of transformation and revenge, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Revenge and Reveal for more jaw-dropping tales.